Well, good afternoon or good evening, folks. The Bill Crane Report, the Kindness and Sweetness Hour is on the air. And we got a lot to talk about today. It's the tail end of November, but by the time you folks get to see this, it'll perhaps be December 7th or so. And we need to talk about what happened on December 7th, 1941. When the Empire of Japan attacked U.S. forces at Pearl Harbor. In this attack, they destroyed 8 battleships, and I believe, if memory serves me, 200 and something planes on the ground. Mm-hmm. And I forget I've got it written down here someplace, and I'm not very organized today, so I do apologize, but there was quite a significant amount of casualties also.
Oh yeah, there was, off the top of my head, 1,800, something like that.
It was
that was deaths, not military counts wounded and a death, the same as a casualty.
So that single act really brought America into World War II. Now, Europe had been involved in World War II since September 1st, 1939, when Germany invaded Poland. And between Germany and Russia, they basically cut Poland in half. Each side taking what they wanted. The events of 1941, the attack on Pearl Harbor, brought an instant response from the U.S. government. We declared war.
Yes, we did.
On the Empire of Japan.
And at the same time, Germany declared war on us.
And easily one of the 3 or 4 biggest mistakes Adolf Hitler ever made.
Oh, absolutely.
He had to keep us out of the conflict. Mm-hmm. So what's he do? He declares war on us. Well, what the devil are we going to do? Well, you could hear the sigh of relief from Franklin Delano Roosevelt on the West Coast. This is what he wanted all along, but couldn't do because of the isolationists.
And Churchill. Churchill was working on that. We have to get involved.
Well, that's where Lend-Lease came out. I mean, that's how we began helping them. But by the way, something not everyone is aware of, but Winston Churchill and Franklin Delano Roosevelt were distant cousins. Oh, yeah. And they were, and someday we need to talk about this, the greatest people of the 20th century. But boy, I'll tell you what, for my money, Winston Churchill is number 1.
Is what?
Number one.
Oh, number 1.
And Franklin Delano Roosevelt's not far behind.
That's right. Today, you take our leaders today to put them in the same type of situation, they'd be hurting. They would. Any of them would be.
Oh, there's no question. No question.
Look at Churchill. He's a little island nation, and they coming at him from every direction. Totally unprepared. He had minimal air force, but yet they fought off the Germans in the Battle of Britain. Well, they used to say there was so many did so much for so few.
So many owed so much to so few.
That's right.
I will tell you that one of the greatest acts of heroism that I've ever witnessed was Great Britain defending itself and holding Nazi Germany at bay until we finally managed to get ourselves in it. But we had, and I'm not sure how many people realize this, we had a very isolationist Congress and a very isolationist mindset in this country.
Yeah, the population was isolationist also.
Absolutely. I mean, we lost a lot of guys in World War I And the people in the U.S. simply said, we're never going to go to Europe again.
Never again.
Never again. The hell with them over there.
Yep.
And we're sticking right over here.
Well, World War I was the war to end all wars.
It was, but boy, it certainly didn't, because it was World War I was the direct cause of World War II.
Yeah, it was just continuation.
Yep. So, on that note, I hope that you folks keeping your thoughts and prayers. Our boys and girls that were casualties and died in Pearl Harbor, and by extension, all of World War II.
Yeah. Because these things have a way of fading away if you don't take actual action to do something. I see they have now stopped the annual return of survivors to Pearl Harbor.
Oh, really?
Because there are so few.
So then they're so frail too.
Yeah, and they're so frail.
Yeah.
Last time they only had 6 or 8 left from the Arizona. That was it.
But we've got to remember that, because history, if we pay no attention to it, repeats itself.
Absolutely.
And we repeat the blunders. I got a bunch of things I want to get to, and then I want to get to the main subject. But right off the top, I know this is going to break your heart, but Matt Lauer was fired this morning. What a shocker. And guess what? A sexual assault on a coworker.
Yep.
It's an epidemic, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And the news on BC. Just now, the 1 o'clock news I was listening to, an NPR guy, well known in Minnesota, 75 years old, out. They cut all ties with him.
What happened to innocent until proven guilty?
Well, do you know something? We're going to talk about that in a second. But boy, what about that? But this business with Matt Lauer, they were mentioning at 1 o'clock on the news that different agencies, different newspapers were doing background work on this 3 or 4 days ago. This didn't come as any surprise to the people on the inside.
Okay.
And Matt Lauer hasn't said one word, so I don't think he was surprised either. But stop and think about this. Matt Lauer is walking away from $25 million a year salary.
Wow.
Now you say, how can anybody be worth a talking head? But the Today Show grosses $300 million annually in advertising on the show. Now, if he's part of it.
Yep.
Also, think about this too. CBS fired Scott Pelley, their newsman, at 6:30, and my favorite that left, Charlie Rose.
I'm going to miss him.
Yeah, with his superior, condescending attitude, and he was not just 1 or 2 females; he was after them all. Yump and Yemeni. I wonder who goes down next. I don't know.
Trump.
Oh, what an awful thing to say.
Well, I'm sure they could find things
Listen,
on him.
if they haven't found him by now.
They've already got what they got.
Yeah.
It's kind of settled down.
Bury it.
No, it's buried. It's out in the open. Yeah, I think what he did, he did.
Yeah.
Well, it's settled down, meaning
The reaction is settled
Meaning
down.
people just have disregarded it.
Look at the groper of groper, Mr. Clinton, President Clinton. God Lord.
Yeah.
Now he's considered a senior statesman.
Yeah.
Look up. And Ted Kennedy, for Christ's sake.
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, there was,
He killed him.
It just goes,
He drowned one of them.
Well, not so good news this morning from North Korea.
No.
They fired a missile capable of 8,300 miles of flight. Now, that means they can hit any spot on Earth with that.
They're flexing some very real muscle.
Yep. And we're going to have to do something here pretty soon What is his end game? Any thoughts?
I think he's showing the world that he's a tough guy. He's somebody to be reckoned with.
And after he proves that, what happens next?
Well, I think deep down he is afraid of losing his country and the South Koreans invading him or the West coming in invading, and there'll be no more North Korea, just Korea.
Oh, you're absolutely right. I mean, he's got two things in mind, and that is guarding his country and reunification with South Korea.
That's right.
And he wants, of course, to dominate South Korea.
Yep.
Those are the two things that are on his plate.
Yeah,
but does he really think that if he fires off a few more of these missiles, he's going to be allowed to march right into South Korea?
I think he does.
He's got a mindset that's different. I can't say it's Korean, but it is an Eastern philosophy. Don't mess with me because I'm a bad man. Yep.
But if he goes into South Korea, and if you oppose me when I go into South Korea, then I'll drop a nuclear bomb on you.
Oh,
sure,
yeah.
That's his
and that's what we have to be prepared for. And maybe before he has a nuclear bomb small enough to put it in this missile, maybe we need to take him out.
That will never fly.
Pray tell, why not?
Nobody will agree to that.
Do you think that...
It's an act of aggression. Boy, Putin would jump all over that. Look at the United States. It's attacking this small little country near me.
I have, in my heart of hearts, I think that President Trump has run this by the Chinese and the Russians.
Absolutely.
And
don't think that they're just sitting there and they don't know what's going on.
And they have said, do what you must do. That's my take on this.
But don't involve us.
That's exactly
That's
right.
right.
Yeah. I mean, you got to pull those irons out of the fire all by yourself. Now, the Chinese, we've got to make sure that they're on board this, and I think they are. They don't want the Koreans moving into China. They don't want to have to feed them. They can't feed the people.
They don't want to deal with billions of refugees coming across the border. So they don't want, and they don't want a Western alliance running to Korea because they don't want them on their border either.
They don't want Korea reunified.
No.
They want it separate because they don't want a unified Korea bordering them.
That's right. But you know what?
Russians have the
you
same
say you
feel.
take action. Don't think necessarily it has to be that we have to blow North Korea up. We may want to take out Koreans, not Korea, starting with Ung and his little core. If they could be assassinated or eliminated, there's a population under that are a whole lot more sensible than they are.
That's always intrigued me why they don't assassinate the leaders.
Well, I
All
think
through the different wars, the leaders always survive. They're not assassinated.
We did a few down in Central and South America.
But look at Africa. Look at those guys. We're not taking them out.
No, but you know, Africa is a long way off.
Isolationists.
Well, you know, there's nothing in our national interest.
Yeah, that didn't matter.
Other than the Suez Canal and there's a few oil fields in northern Africa, Nigeria, there isn't much over there that's going on.
No.
And since colonialism was stopped and all these countries had manifest destiny, they could do their own thing, every single one of them is a dictatorship now. I talked to a friend of mine from Nigeria, a very, very intelligent guy, and a lot of fun. And he was educated at Oxford in England. His folks had money. So I said to him one night, I said, Joe, tell me something. If you could turn the clock back and go back to British colonialism, would you recommend that? He said, in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
He said, you know, in Nigeria, with the British in charge, We had schools.
Yep.
We had electricity. We had paved roads. We had clean drinking water.
And people weren't shooting each other on the street.
Right. We had law and order. Yeah. Right. And now he said it's horrible over there. Women in his town have to walk 4 to 6 miles to springs or wells for drinking water. 4 to 6 miles every morning. It's incredible. But I said to him, I said, if we could do that and go back and put the Brits back in control, he said, how long? I said to him, how long should they stay in control? And he said, I would say about 100 years. He says, because Africa is a mess.
Absolutely.
Well, I don't know what we're going to do about Korea, but I think the day of reckoning is coming. Now, the Koreans fired off missiles in retribution to what the North Koreans did, and every one of them was capable of hitting the launching pads. And that was their message. Guess what? We can hit your launching pads. Is that what you want? You know, kind of thing. So it's like the old deal in the Army playing liar's poker. We'll see who wins here, but this is a bad situation.
Yeah, because there's so much potential for an accident.
There is.
Or something that triggered, not necessarily by accidident, by misunderstanding.
Yes, indeed. Wars have started over misunderstandings.
Oh, absolutely.
Well.
And a lot of our planes seem to have gone down there.
Poor maintenance.
That's what they're saying.
Yes. Well, you understand something. President Obama, in many cases, eliminated maintenance money.
Oh, really?
I mean,
the budgets were cut.
I mean, he hated the military. And, I mean, he just gutted the defense spending.
Yep.
And if you don't maintain equipment religiously, guess what happens? It breaks. His legacy is going to be felt for many, many years. Well, we have a couple of very unpleasant things to talk about. Troopergate. What do we have to say about this young lady whose father is a judge?
This was disgusting. Absolutely disgusting.
Dwayne, tell it like it is.
All right.
Don't pull punches.
When this happens to somebody like the state police, not just state police, but it's a violation of the public trust. It's not like this little scandal or some scandal went someplace different, the tax department or the natural resources. When it happens with somebody like the state police, that shakes everybody's confidence. Now you're looking at a state that you could say this is almost a police state then, because if they can manipulate that, what else can they manipulate?
Yep.
And this is the kind of thing that I am afraid is just going to be swept over to the side, saying, oh, naughty us or naughty them, and things will go on. They'll just let it calm down, and 6 months from now, everybody's going to say, what, who, what? It was just business as usual again.
Well, the DA is involved.
Yep.
Worcester County DA. So at what point, I mean, how high can this mess go?
I know where.
Well, I know how high it went. It went to Baker.
Sure did.
And do you know, in today's paper, they show the timelines. And Baker knew about this. He knew 24 hours before the colonel resigned. And then he said, oh, it came as a surprise to me.
My question is, where in the hell is that great attorney general we've got?
Well,
she's out taking care of some federal business that she's got no business sticking her nose in.
Nope. She's got an investigation going.
Oh, sure.
And she's also out on the campaign trail for Hillary again.
That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
She's spending her time doing that crap.
And instead of minding business here.
First of all, I think they ought to be going after the I'm not sure who the zoning or who the control board is over judges, but they damn well better be going after that judge. You don't hear anything.
Do you know that this thing stinks on so many different levels that it's almost impossible to believe. But I tell you something, we have got to get to the bottom of this, and if we don't, well, shame on us.
If that judge is still sitting on the bench 90 days from now or 120 days from now, then shame on us big time.
Well, believe me, he will.
He will be. That's the problem.
Absolutely, because that's a job for life.
Oh yeah, you and I have talked about should be appointed or should be elected.
Well, you know what? That if you want to make the case that they should be elected, I'm going to vote that way, because I'll tell you what, I've had it with these hacks.
Guys, yep.
Every one of them is a hack. But you know, this girl tries to get out of this case by offering sex in exchange for the cop looking the other way. Okay?
Right.
So she's arrested, and she calls Daddy. Daddy calls the DA calls the state police, and down the ladder it comes. And these two are written up on it.
Yeah, they're written up
the two cops for doing their job. You know, this is absolutely ridiculous. And I'm going to tell you something. This reflects on every single police officer in the state of Massachusetts. And any police officer that is not disgusted by this, turn in your badge and retire and get moving.
Even the patrolmen's union was up in arms over it.
I mean, this is ridiculous. Unbelievable. As Pogo would say, I is regusted by all of this. And I'll tell you what, the emails are now showing that Baker knew 24 hours before he discussed this guy's retirement, and then he says, I was as surprised as you were when he retired. Listen, I'm telling you something else.
The first thing they got to do is change that law that lets them retire to protect their pension.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. This business about these pensions being sacrosanct, if you're a lawbreaker,
that's right.
Give me a break. There's more to be said about this. And Baker said after the event, people want us to take these things seriously. You don't take something seriously in 24 hours, okay? In other words, he has to reach out to everybody and say, now, what did you say and what did you do? How are we going to spin this?
That's right.
And big news yesterday. He and Karen Polito are going to run for re-election. I'm just as happy as a clam. Unbelievable. Well, our friend Senator Warren created this Consumer Protection Board. And she put more ifs, ands, and buts in this consumer board than you can imagine, this protection board. But one of the things she put in was they hire a president or a chairman or whatever the hell he is, a leader of this.
Right.
And when he wants to leave, he appoints his successor.
Oh.
This is a government agency, and the government has no control over it.
Well, you kind of summed it up when you said it's a government agency.
Yep.
They protect themselves. They run themselves.
Yep. So, now, this is absolutely unbelievable.
Well, how is the leader now appointed? When she created this...
The board, this board that she was on hired this guy to head up this agency from the get-go.
So the board hired their chairperson.
Yeah, that's correct.
So why wouldn't they be able to do that in the future?
He names his own successor when he leaves.
That's crazy.
This board was a congressional board. It was a congressional board, Chris. And since they're off on doing other things now.
So the board had to agree to this, right?
They structured it.
That's they agreed to the structure of the bylaw that allowed them to do it.
Oh.
So now this guy leaves and he picks his own successor. And Trump says, President Trump, says, oh no, I'm appointing the new leader. So these people complain, they go to court to get a decision by the court as to whether or not the president can do it. And the court said the president can do it.
Again, yeah.
Yeah, you folks are out of luck. And they don't have the right of appeal on this. So something good has come of this. Now, one of the things that this board has done is they investigated car dealers, okay, protecting the consumers.
Right.
And they looked at, and this is good, people with obvious black names and obvious white names, and see if they were treated differently. This is really a scientific
deal. Absolutely.
This is really something. And they came to the decision that the banks gave the guys with obviously black names higher interest rates on car loans than they did with obvious white names.
Yep, it's...
So they fined the banks, and the banks, by law, could not appeal. They had no choice but to to pay the fine. And then this CFPB gave the money to individual civil rights organizations or different consumer groups.
Which just encouraged them.
Of course.
To bring them these crazy lawsuits, more of them.
Absolutely. Look at how much money we got for this. Let's do it again. So anyway, White House Budget Manager Mick Mulvaney has been chosen as the interim director of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and our senator from Massachusetts, Senator Warren, is not happy.
That makes me ecstatic.
Unbelievable. But on the news of all of this, and some other news of the new Fed chairman, Powell, that interest rates are going to come up gradually. There's not going to be any crazy jumps. The stock market went straight up.
259 points or something yesterday.
Yeah.
56 points.
Yeah, that was a good move for Billy, I'll tell you. I've got one more thing here I want to talk to you about, and then we'll get to our big subject. Well, the police were watching on Roxbury Street in Dorchester, and they saw a hand-to-hand drug transaction. Well, they moved in. The buyer moved away. A couple of other cops grabbed him, but they grabbed the seller, a 23-year-old young lady by the name of Jamlia Jones. Well, in the course of talking to her, she kept adjusting her bra. So these guys didn't just fall off the parsnip truck. I mean, they sniffed out the fact something was going on. In a quick little pat down, and guess what?
She had drugs in her bra?
A 9mm semi-automatic pistol was in her bra. Obviously, this was to enhance her shape, no doubt, or I don't know, maybe. So, now I have a question for you two. I think you're both young, aspiring commentators here, and
well, you got the young part right.
You're showing a lot of promise. So, she's going to face charges on unlawful possession of a firearm, unlawful possession of ammunition. By the way, the gun was loaded too.
Of course.
Unlawful possession of a large capacity feeding device, unlawfully carrying a loaded firearm, and receiving stolen property. Because they ran the serial number and it was reported stolen in Alabama.
Yeah.
Oh.
Now, my question to you two young aspiring commentators
Is?
how much jail time is she going to do?
Well, I would not be surprised she doesn't do. Depends on how long the record is. When they pull up a rap sheet, if it's less than 3 pages long,
Really cutting her a big break
if
here.
it's less than 3 pages, she's going to walk with probation.
30 days.
And September, April, June, and November. I think there's probably one more missing piece of information. How many kids has she got? Because they don't like to put them in the slammer if they've got 4 rugrats bouncing off all the walls. But let me tell you something. If this defendant's name was Dwayne Weiss or Bill Crane,
Put the cuffs
we're
on,
looking
gone.
at
5, 6.
3 to 5 years.
Oh, yeah, easy.
Easy.
Yeah.
Without even talking about the drug transaction. Just the gun problem.
Or they'd have been amazed how we could put a gun in our bras.
Yeah. I don't want no cop fishing around my
Get away
property.
from me.
But I suspect she's going to walk.
You know what? It breaks my heart to say this, but you may well have something. This looks like one of these 2.5-year supervised.
Absolutely.
Well, what happened to the crackdown of the war on drugs?
Well, there's a big problem. We are incarcerating too many
Yeah.
young inner city people. And this is one of the real things that the football kneelers are complaining about. Too many black brothers are being incarcerated. Well, also, and another interesting statistic is too many are in prison for murder. Our population is 13% black. The incarceration rate for blacks is 50% for murder. So we have 13% of the people doing 50% of the crime.
Well, it's Mayor Koch. Remember him from
Yeah.
that little weird guy from New York City?
New York City, yeah.
And he was a super liberal, too. And so he came out with a shocking statistics years ago, and people just were abhorred when he brought out FBI statistics nationwide that 80% of the murders were being committed by blacks. But 95% of those that are killed were killed by other blacks. And his thing was, we've got to stop this crime, that particularly is black on black murdering black.
And I want to be perfectly clear about this. This is a national tragedy. And I wish that heavens we could get away from the labels, black, Hispanic, white, Irish, Polish, and we're all Americans.
You know what, Bill? I do too, but I don't think it's going to happen because there are certain people in the society that make their living stirring up the race issue.
And making it divisive.
That's right.
That's exactly right.
Once those labels are taken off, once you don't see whether it's a black person or a white person or Asian, where's Jesse Jackson going to go? Where's Al Sharpton going to go? Then there's many of them on that down into the Boston level. I think his name is Reverend Rivers, and he's got all kinds of his disciples out there. What are they going to do?
Do you know, I've read some of the stuff that Reverend Rivers has written and said. He seems to have a fairly level head on his shoulders, but he's also totally frustrated by this whole mess. I wish we had a magic wand and we could make this problem go away. But there are so many layers to this. Education, housing, the environment, the violence in the street, single mother families, kids being put out on the street when they're 8, go away. no jobs in the inner city. So, I mean, there's so much of this that is put into this swirling pot of unrest, if you will. I don't know. We're the devil. The answer lies, but I've been doing some research on it lately and come up with some facts, and they're scary. It's just...
Some of those problems are not new. Some have been generational.
Sure.
And the breakdown of the family, the lack of a father figure in the family, that's not new. That's been going on since great-grandfather's day. You know, they just disappeared. The mama has to raise the kids. And now it's just not even mama raising the kids, it's a grandma raising the kids.
Grandma, they're absolutely right.
And she can't control them half the time.
And you know what, too? And something else, too, that we refuse to address, it seems to me anyway, is these people breeding like gerbils. I mean, and the guys walk away and never pay a penny.
Have no responsibility whatsoever
for the
it.
upkeep of these kids that they have created. They just walk away from it and go having an affair with another woman and another woman and another woman. And there is no consequence. There should be a name on the birth certificate. And that bozo should be hauled into court and a payment schedule established.
That's right.
And you're going to pay this. Or you're going to go to Leavenworth. You want to build more prisons and work camps and stuff like that. How else are we going to stop this? Turn it around.
We've got to do something because we can't keep ignoring this problem.
I know it. But we've done a pretty good job of ignoring it to this point.
Yeah,
and you know what?
As soon as anything's done, no, the race card comes out.
Of course it does.
It's racist. It's racist.
Well, oh yeah, it sure is. In fact, who the devil was it? I think it was Matthews, Chris Matthews, who said the other day that any time a white man, mentions the word Chicago, you know he's a racist.
Oh yeah, that's...
I mean, so everything goes back to race. And somehow or other, I know we're our brother's keepers, but our brothers don't want us to help them. Mm-hmm. They turn their back on us. I mean, this stuff about, the NFL and kneeling at halftime, or kneeling for the national anthem. Do you know that at the games last week, only 4 men knelt? This was, some of their spokesmen have said, where it's because of our black brothers being locked up in prisons that we demonstrated.
It was the issue du jour. I can get my butt on television if I do this. Now I'm going to get some notoriety. Otherwise, I'm just going to be one of 55 guys lined up there waiting for the football game to start, 58 or whatever the team is.
47 they dress
is it 47?
now. Yeah, they got a 53-man roster, and there's 6 of them that don't dress. Okay. They're naked.
But it's just like when they one of them makes a play. He's always got to run out of the crowd all by himself because he thinks the camera's going to follow him. Well, if you denied these guys the notoriety to start with, and not made them the star of an issue. You notice when some idiot runs out on the field today,
they don't show them.
They don't show them.
No.
Most of the times they don't even comment about it.
Yeah.
And you don't find that much. Once in a while you get some drunk that'll do it, but it's rare today. It used to be every game, 2-3 times somebody was doing it.
Mm. I don't know, but I do know this. If I could possibly point out one person who, it seems to me, is the one person that is responsible for the racial climate that we have in our country today, it would be President Obama. Because for 8 years, he refused to discuss the race issue. He just waltzed away from it.
Yeah, and anything even related to it.
Never said, let's sit down and have a talk about the race issue in this country. I'm the president, I get the bully pulpit, I want to talk about race.
Yeah.
How are we going to solve the manifest problems that we have? But he never did it.
Yeah, and today, the politicians influence leaders are afraid to. Because if you get involved anything, they'll label you a racist. And these people, they're terrified of being called a racist.
I know.
I mean,
by the way, changing the subject
Okay.
a tad, he said, do you recall when we were talking about Mayor Walsh
yeah.
in his run for re-election? And I said to you, you know, Billy the Cynic would say Tito Jackson was a Trojan horse to keep other younger minorities, especially a couple of good-looking women, out of the election, like that Chang Diaz, that lady, and the other one too, Presley, I think her name is. They're both very attractive and very articulate members of a city council or something.
Right, that's what they are.
Tito was Tito, sort of a retread, nothing dynamic about him, a lousy speaker. And I opined that perhaps he got into the race to keep everybody else out because his name was bigger than everybody else's, and that he would be taken care of afterwards. Well, guess what Mayor Walsh did? Offered him a job on his staff.
Of course.
And I'm saying to myself, Billy, you've done it again. Now, this may all be some sort of a cosmic accident, but I don't know about that.
Keep your friends closer and your enemies closer.
Expert. Turn Tito from foe to friend.
That's right.
You know, that's it. So they finally caught up on this, but I knew it all along. So Tito will settle into something.
Yep.
And I'll bet you it'll be a good job at a good wage.
Oh, absolutely. And security.
Now, I want to talk about something else, and I want to bring it to another point. December of 1942, we had the Coconut Grove fire in Boston. A terrible, tragic event. 492 souls died. In it, around the country, we looked at our fire laws.
Yeah, it brought about a lot of changes.
And these people in the Coconut Grove actually locked the exit doors so that
They
people
chained them.
couldn't get in.
Right.
Well, guess what? People couldn't get out either.
That's right.
But there was another problem, which they do not have anymore. Is they had rotating doors, those circular doors, and people got jammed in them and they couldn't move.
Those are bad news. Yeah. So there was a very poor write-up in the Herald about this Coconut Grove fire. I know because I've read just about everything I can find on the Coconut Grove fire. And this was, well, it mentions the Coconut Grove fire. Talks to a couple of people that were there, and they said, you know, it was awful and that kind of stuff. 492 souls died. I just want to point out three things. July of 1943, during World War II, Operation Gomorrah, the British firebombed the city of Hamburg, Germany, and killed 42,000 people. Some of them were vaporized as the temperatures hit 800 degrees centigrade. February of 1945, they firebombed the city of Dresden.
Yep.
Now, the Germans, this is getting towards the end of the war, they were very methodical, record-keeping people, but they couldn't get their arms around how many people died. So the official number vacillates between 25,000 and 60,000.
And Dresden had really no military value.
Nothing. It had nothing.
Yep.
Hamburg, at least, was a harbor.
A port.
And then, something we just totally forget. We talk about the atomic age and what happened at Nagasaki and Hiroshima. But what happened on March 9th and 10th in Tokyo? We firebombed Tokyo.
And there were more casualties in that than the
other two combined.
And the atomic bomb of Nagasaki.
Yeah. 88,000 to 100,000 people died in that fire. So, you know, Coconut Grove fire, for us in Boston and for people that had relatives or friends that passed away, this was a horrible, horrible thing. But man, we can't lose sight of the fact these other things happen too.
Yeah.
And we don't talk about them. But I don't know. I'm not, probably, I have a point in my head, but I can't really
that's because
articulate
of the media.
Of course. Anything you did to Nazi Germany was all right, or Japan, you know, but we did it to innocent civilians. We didn't, those weren't military sites, any one of those three. Anyhow, well, I got one more thing, and then I'm going to start talking about something else. Oh, two more things. Attorney General eyes utilities power restoration efforts after the storm. She seems to think that National Grid really didn't do a good enough job cleaning up and getting the power back on. Mm-hmm. So I wrote a note up above, and I want you to answer this, Dwayne, because I know you're very friendly with her and you really like her.
Oh, absolutely.
Did she put on jeans and go out and help get coffee and sandwiches for the work crew? Or did she just sit at home in front of the fireplace, cozy and warm, and think of things to complain about? Those are your two choices.
Well,
if you got a third, you can throw it. Okay.
She rapped on my door.
Did
she
she
had
really?
jeans on and boots, and she says, "Can I cut those two big trees that are across your driveway up for you?" I said, "Well, yeah, you can." I said, "But be careful." Oh, she said, I won't get hurt, don't worry. I said, "Oh, thank you."
Well, that was nice of her.
Yeah, sure.
Yes, you know, these Monday morning, oh, we're as guilty of it as anybody, I suppose, sitting here yapping, but Monday morning quarterbacks that just, you know, blah, blah, blah after the fact. And I mean, where the hell was she last summer sitting down talking to National Grid about their plans for the winter? Did she do that? Well, anyway, how about Gloucester and Halloween and the decorations up there and how the kids brought in stuff, and one of them, the parent made a tombstone and put Donald Trump's name on it. I mean, are you kidding me?
Do you know the Globe never even mentioned that?
Well, I'll tell you something. If this was Barack Obama's name on this,
oh my God,
let me tell you, there would have been a lynching of everybody involved. But Donald Trump, no. And the district is under fire for alluding to the dead Trump. This is unbelievable. But you know what? The lady that did it, they're not publishing her name. Well, you know, she made a mistake, but she really didn't come out and apologize. Other people did for her, but I don't believe she came out and apologized. I mean, they say hate creeps into Gloucester. That's exactly what this is hatred.
Oh, I don't know why the Secret Service isn't knocking on her door.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. If I did that, they would have been knocking on my door.
That's against the law, actually.
Yeah, of course it is. Of course it is. It's a threat. Good Lord. Okay. Oh, all right. Well, I got one more here before we get going, I guess. Holy Cross may shed the Crusader moniker
with the
for their football team,
the sword,
their basketball team, their baseball team. Yep, and I really like the rationale of 2 students. The Holy Cross students, Donatella Guanciale and Emma Powell, wrote in the Crusader newspaper, while some have no issues with the Crusader, many feel tension.
Oh yeah.
Or take offense with it. Why would we not consider changing something that takes away from the experience of our community, even if it's just a single person who takes issue? We should want to spread the ability to love and appreciate our time at Holy Cross because of the people we are with, not because of the symbol we wear on our jerseys.
Well, why does that bother her so much, or these 2 students, one of them?
It's PC. That's what it is.
2 years ago, there was a motion made to change UMass's Minuteman because it was white man with a gun. And a couple of those snowflakes were so upset over this. I don't know, they wanted to see the Bluebirds or the Cardinals or something. I don't know what they wanted to change. Something stupid. But they take offense with stuff that makes no damn sense.
Or has any significance, really. I mean, they're concentrating on changing the names instead of doing something to help the environment or the community or their college.
Now, with that rationale, the Knights of Columbus would have to change theirs. They wear a big silver sword, and they're the Knights of Columbus. Yeah. It's just the contrary to...
Boy. Well, I hope Senator Warren's not watching our show. She'll be all over that one.
That woman almost makes Hillary Clinton look palatable.
The PC was the subject I was going to spend most of the time on. We're going to do it at the next meeting. However, from Joe Fitzgerald's column, he said, country singer Kathy Mattea had it right. You've got to sing like you don't need the money. Love like you'll never get hurt. You've got to dance like nobody's watching. And it's got to come from the heart if you want it to work. So anyone that is expressing something from the heart, how do you label that as being politically incorrect? If someone is speaking not in an aggressive fashion, but in a kindly fashion. Mm-hmm. And this was about Jerry Remy having said something kind of silly. And he corrected it and apologized, even though I don't think there was any need for him to apologize. But, so I set out to take a look. My son Patrick, your lawn man.
Good man.
Came up with this. He said, Dad, he said, I was looking at a couple of websites, the 10 stupidest things the PC movement has produced. Well, guess what? I get 6 or 8 pages of them. And next time, folks, I promise you, we are going to roll up our sleeves, and I'm going to give you some of the most ridiculous nonsense you have ever experienced. Now, we'll get 2 minutes to go. Mike Capuano, U.S. Representative Mike Capuano from Somerville, I think,
yes, he is
weighing in on the toll issue about Massachusetts wanting to set up toll booths. We just got through ripping them down on the Mass Turnpike. Mm-hmm. We want to set them back up again. And he weighed in on it. Now, there's a part of me that says, I don't like to see taxes go up, but if we're going to maintain roads and bridges, I think it's got to be a combination of the people that are using the roads and paying tolls, and people, and part of it's got to be a rise in the gas tax.
Yeah.
I hate both ideas, but I think it's probably the best we can do, because when I drive, I see the roads in worse and worse
God, it's
condition.
like third world country someplace around here. But that gas tax, so people are so worried about a penny or 2 or 5 on the gas. But the pumps raise and lower the price 5 and 10 cents a week, and nobody seems to care one way or another.
It's nonsense.
It is nonsense.
You know what? Guys like the fellow that's in charge of the no tax movement.
Yeah.
I forget what the hell his name is, but. No taxes, no. Well, how the hell, with a burgeoning population, with more cars on the road, and our roads in disrepair, how do we equitably ask people to pay for this?
Yep.
The people that use them, the big trucks that use them.
Just wait till some one of the major bridges collapse, like it did years ago down in Connecticut and in Minnesota, and what was it, Charlotte or someplace down Atlanta.
Yeah.
Then they're going to be up in arms. Oh my God, how could that have happened?
How can you politicians possibly not take care of the roads? You morons, you idiots. But it seems to me that if we have to pay to fix these roads, I would think that a combination of the gas tax and a road tax, or whether
you got to do something, because the good ferry's not going to come in the middle of the night and fix them.
It's not going to screw up traffic at all, collecting the tolls, because you got these readers. You just make people buy them. Oh, actually, you get them for free, from the state. And you go under these bridges, you can go under at 75 miles an hour, and it catches you. It gets the blip off the transponder. I don't know. It just seems to me that that's something that I can live with.
I can too.
Yeah. How about you, Chris?
Well, I don't know. I think people who travel a lot for their business and who are trucking, it's going to hurt them more than just you and I.
They're taking advantage of the road system. They're the ones that are wearing it out.
Yeah, and not only that, Chris, but I think it's a sort of thing that all trucks are going to be treated equally out there. So I don't think anybody's going to get an economic advantage over a rise in the diesel fuel tax.
And the other thing is, maybe we're not spending our money in our best way possible. Maybe we should take some of the money that we're throwing away and put it towards the roads instead of just increasing the tax, so we can still throw our money away and get the roads done.
Maybe you're dreaming with your eyes wide open today too.
It's wrap up.
But you're absolutely right.
Let's wrap up.
Let's wrap it up.
Yep.
All right, folks. Listen, great being with you. Look forward to it next time, and happy winter.
Happy winter.
It's coming. Goodbye.